Today we have a very special guest, actually two very special guests, Dr. Richard Bautch and Amberly Russell. And Dr. Bautch is the executive director here at the Holy Cross Institute at St. Edward's University. That's a mouthful. I can't imagine what the business card looks like. And Amberly is the communications director. And it's an honor to be here with you. And I know a lot of our listeners are going, where's St. Edward's? And what's the Holy Cross Institute? So we're gonna dive into all of that. We're gonna answer all those questions today. And just a reminder to everybody, if you don't get an opportunity to listen to the entire episode, you can always pick it up on our website at armorofgodradio.com. And it'll be under our schedule tab. And you'll find all of our podcasts right there on armorofgodradio.com. So Dr. Bautch, Amberly, thank you very much for carving out some time for us today.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, let's start with a proper introduction. Dr. Bautch, I'll let you kick this off.
Well, thank you, Tom. And I want to say thank you for having Amberly and myself on Armor of God Radio with you and your listeners today. This is an honor for us. Now, here at the Holy Cross Institute, my title is Executive Director, but I sometimes introduce myself as a Catholic biblical scholar in service of the Roman Church and all the people of God. Now, within my focus in the Bible, it's the Old Testament. Okay. And that's really where I've researched and published articles and books on the patriarchs and the prophets and the Psalms especially. I also teach courses in Scripture and related areas here at St. Edward's University, where we have amazing students. They excel in biblical studies and really everything else, sacraments, devotions. My own studies took place at the University of Notre Dame in Indiana, where I earned my PhD in biblical studies. And a fun fact is that a few years ago, I spent a semester in Rome as an invited professor at the Pontifical Biblical Institute, or the Biblicum, where I taught classes and lectured. And one more thing. I am currently serving as president of the Catholic Biblical Association, which is based at Catholic University in Washington and serves our church nationwide. Wow. So the Bible is a big part of who I am.
Apparently.
and I mention this with you today because we're going to be talking a lot about Holy Cross and about Father Basil Moreau, who's the founder of Holy Cross. And a little known fact is that Father Basil Moreau was himself a biblical scholar. He was trained in Bible. He taught seminary courses in biblical studies before he founded Holy Cross. But I brought a book today. One of his most important books is his daily meditations on key passages of Scripture. And this remains an inspiration to Holy Cross religious and to Holy Cross educators worldwide.
Wow.
So it's really, it's the Jesus of the Gospels whom all in Holy Cross follow faithfully, thanks to Father Moreau especially, who was a Scripture scholar.
So when you were in Rome, what did you teach there? Were you teaching a specific subject or just?
I did. I taught a course on the first 5 books of the Old Testament, which we refer to as the Pentateuch. So we know in the beginning is Genesis, and that particular collection of books extends to the book of Deuteronomy. That's the fifth book, and that's a very special collection. Our Jewish sisters and brothers understand that to be, the most significant deposit of Scripture, and for Christians as well, it is very, very important.
That's fascinating, and I'm often fascinated with the connections, especially to the Pentateuch in our New Testament and all the connections to our Catholic faith. That we'll have to talk about that in more detail another opportunity maybe. That's fascinating to me. And then what can you give us just a little 2-minute blurb on the Catholic Biblical Society?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah. The Catholic Biblical Association.
I apologize.
Yeah, sure. It was founded in the 1930s, and it is sort of the professional organization for professors who tend to be at Catholic colleges and universities with training like myself, where we have biblical studies and we are able to teach courses. But also, I think it's very important what the association does is we do a lot of research into the Scriptures. And a lot of when you at liturgy, for example, at church on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
the actual texts that are read, those texts in their English translations are often the product, in part or wholly, of the work of members of the Catholic Biblical Association.
Oh, fascinating.
So we really strive to be of service to the church in myriad ways, some very practical, and in other times we are kind of doing our research, off in the library and doing kind of, very highly specialized work with the texts as well.
Fascinating. Professional organization specifically for educators.
It is.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, Amberly, introduce yourself to all of our listeners, please.
Yes, Tom. Well, I just want to say also thank you for having us here. And it's a pleasure to speak to you. I am the communications manager for the Holy Cross Institute at St. Edward's University. And as you said, it is a long title, and our business cards reflect that. But I really love being here. I've been here for about a year now. And as you just heard, I report to Dr. Bautch, and I am in such good hands.
Yeah.
I could not be in better hands. And I often kind of say that this has been a crash course for me in Catholicism and the Congregation of Holy Cross in general, because I grew up Southern Baptist. I grew up Southern Baptist in an extremely rural part of Central Texas. In Blum, Texas.
Blum. We have people who know where Blum, Texas is.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we're in Austin right now, and every time I say Blum, I have to walk myself back from Waco. So it's Waco, Hillsboro, Lake Whitney, Blum.
There you go. There you go.
But y'all know where it is, so that's good. Population 400, 6-man football. But much like you, Tom, I've lived all over the world thanks to the U.S. Army. Hoa.
Yeah, indeed,
And my military service is a key part of who I am internally.
Yeah.
So I really love being here. I do marketing here.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure and a joy to learn about the Congregation of Holy Cross and all that it stands for, and to be able to provide a space for educators, staff, administration, faculty to be able to learn about the basic values and principles that the Congregation of Holy Cross upholds.
Yeah. So you basically just do whatever Dr. Bautch tells you to do, right? But you focus.
Well, just like
a good soldier.
He doesn't make me do push-ups. So
Well, there you go.
Thank you, Dr. Bautch.
Maybe we could change that. No, I'm kidding.
Drop now.
Those days are gone. Those days are gone.
Well, Amberly is such a professional. Usually I just sort of point it to the task and point in a direction, and she does everything else.
Wow.
So her instincts are fabulous. She's a great professional, and she's been such an asset to us. So
Thank you, Dr.
So let's talk a little bit about what is the Holy Cross Institute and how, or maybe who, brought it here to St. Edward's University.
Great question, Tom. Thank you. And no one brought it here. It actually was homegrown.
Okay.
It was homegrown 20 years ago. We're actually celebrating our 20th anniversary right now, so it's very special. 20 years ago, the then president of St. Edward's, Dr. George Martin, was meeting with one of the brothers of Holy Cross. And this was Brother Stephen Walsh, who himself had been president here back in the 1970s. So they had a lot of perspective. And they noticed something really important. More and more, the lay people who were here, either teaching or serving the students in other ways through co-curriculars, or maybe in administration and leadership. But the lay people, like us, they were increasingly focused on Holy Cross values and vision, and committed more and more to delivering not only Catholic education to our students, but Catholic education that is deep in the Holy Cross spirit of hope and hospitality. And they said, we've got to support this. We've got to create structures so that, this doesn't just fade away with the next generation.
Yeah.
We got to capture this and support this. And that really was the genesis of the Holy Cross Institute. What we have created here is a research institute where we go back and we study carefully what are the roots of Holy Cross? What are the most important values? And how does the vision come together? And then we explain that in resources that are readily available to our faculty and everybody else who's here. And what we say is that everyone who's here is a Holy Cross educator. If you're here, then you're here on behalf of the students, and you are educating. And it may be through a witness. It may not be explicitly through what you say, but it may be through how you do what you do. So to your question, we created this institute, and on a regular basis, we're publishing new books and pamphlets. We're doing, more and more research into some of the key figures of Holy Cross, and we're here in the institute with some beautiful icons of our founder, Father Moreau, behind my right shoulder, and the saint of Holy Cross, Saint Andre Bessette. So we're increasingly doing new research and finding ways to get their story out to the people for whom it really matters, the people who are going to be working with our students. And the way that we do that increasingly is not only through books, but we have now an online curriculum, a series of modules that people can sit down and it's almost like a podcast because there's a nice voiceover and people engage in these modules. There's 10 of them. Each module is less than an hour, so you can do a whole course in Holy Cross. And that allows us to ensure that St. Edward's, a great Catholic university, is always going to be a Holy Cross university, first rate, closely connected to the mission all the time.
So these modules that you discussed, are they only for the faculty and the staff here at the university, or are they open to generally anyone on the university?
Our approach is open access.
Yeah.
So we created, and it is at a cost to us internally, but we work with a partner, and so they exist. And if you can simply remember Holy Cross Charism, C-H-A-R-I-S-M, Holy Cross Charism, lowercase, no spaces, no punctuation, holycrosscharism.org. You can go there within a minute. You can register, get your login and password, and start learning.
Wow.
So, and the great thing is, we have folks who are doing that beyond Texas, because there's Holy Cross schools really all around our country.
Oh, wow.
There's about 25 of them.
Really?
And so we have cohorts in some of the schools. There's a school in California, for example, with 100 of their faculty working through these modules as their professional development, with a strong emphasis on mission, obviously.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But even around the world, we have Holy Cross educators, for example, in Bangladesh or Uganda, who are using the modules now. So it's really been a great gift. We feel like we're sort of the vessel. It kind of comes through us and goes out to the people for whom it really matters, the Holy Cross educators.
Yeah. And what kind of topics do these modules cover?
Oh my goodness! Well, there's a lot on history because that's really big, and it's not just history for history's sake, but it's important to be able to tell the story. I think that's what Jesus did. Really.
Right, exactly.
You have to be able to tell the story, and to do that, you have to know the story. So we want to be sure that people know the story in some depth and some detail. It is a wonderful story with our origins in France about 200 years ago. But then there's a whole module on Holy Cross spirituality. There's a module on Holy Cross leadership. There's a module on Catholic social teaching in Holy Cross.
Oh, that's good.
I could go on and on, but I'll just say there's obviously a couple modules on teaching and pedagogy because that's been the emphasis of Holy Cross. Again, since the beginning, has been working in schools and making sure that education is a transformative experience for students.
But this might be something that maybe a religious education director or even a teacher at a particular parish might want to look into and further their own teaching prowess as it is.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
We'll make sure and link that in our show notes here. But
great.
Yeah.
Holy Cross also has parishes around the country. That's another part of the ministry that Holy Cross has been blessed with. And so what we're doing is making sure that those the pastors, but also the pastoral team, that they're aware of this and have access to it too.
Fascinating.
And as
Go
someone
ahead.
who came in as a new employee here at St. Edward's University, it was a great way to onboard me, not just being with the Holy Cross Institute and learning about the history and the things that I need to know in order to market and do my job and put out communications for us, but also just internally being fed. And it was a great way. It was such a holistic way to onboard into an organization. It was so different from, I come from a state school background into a private school background and a Catholic school institute and working for a Catholic research institute. And so having that history was really important. But, my background is not Catholicism. I grew up, like I said, Southern Baptist. And so, the lessons in there are universal. It's not just, a Catholic thing.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
It's
yeah.
universal. It's universal principles. It's universal values. It's, how do we be of service not only to students in a holistic way, cultivating the mind and the heart, but also how do we build respect amongst our colleagues, and how do we bring hope onto our campuses in a time where our world can be in turmoil.
Is in great need of some hope right now.
It is.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's a really beautiful, internal journey as well, not just for what you're going to do for your students, but how are you taking care of yourself? What is your own inner being screaming out for?
Yeah.
What do you need in order to be able to pour from a full cup instead of an empty cup into your students?
That's a great quote. I'm putting that one down. I'm saving that one. That's a good. I like that.
It's
I like that.
important.
On your website, there's this construct, and I wrote down the acronym, the IFT. There we go. Information, Formation, Transformation Construct. Can you kind of dive into why that construct and what each pieces of it actually mean?
Sure, absolutely. The first piece, the information, we've already talked about somewhat, okay? This is really where we, as a team, aim to equip and inspire and empower Holy Cross teachers, faculties, and staff, also administrators, board members, Holy Cross students, too. We look to empower them so that we can foster and continue the mission of education, Catholic education with that Holy Cross touch to it, okay? And that's really the information part. We do that through resources. We also conduct conferences. We run seminars. We have a major convocation. It is an international event, and I know we'll probably talk a little bit more about that, but I'll just flag that.
Indeed.
And we have so many different things that we're doing, but it's all for the sake of providing this information. The second piece, the formation part, is where you start to think systematically about what you're doing, okay? And the idea that we really are focused on mission. Everything has that ultimate goal of mission within it, okay? And so really what we're doing is we're forming these individuals, these educators, these administrators, these board members. We're forming them in mission. And then ultimately, what we see when it's really at its fullest is the transformation, okay, of these educators, but also everyone that they come in contact with in the educational space, right? They become educators in the faith. They become disciples of Jesus, okay? And they're committed to regenerating society, to renewing the church, and as Father Moreau would say, preparing the world for better times. Okay? This is where you want to get, right?
Yeah.
We want to change the world, but you have to have a plan. It sounds great, but you have to have a plan. So we do have a plan. It's the IFT approach. And I just want to say with Father Moreau, he was absolutely committed to, educating and forming students who, upon graduation, would really go out and make a difference in terms of their values, their ethics, not just their skill set and their career competencies, but the quality of person that they were. Because he wanted to make sure that we were making the world a better place, and he also had his sights ultimately on the ultimate, which is heaven and our Heavenly Father. He wanted as many souls as possible, humanly possible, in the end, to be with God. And so we are committed to, yes, making the world a better place and creating citizens for the world and citizens for heaven.
And that missionary mindset is so key to an educational component, an educational background for everybody, and not just our college students and beyond, but even for our pre-K and elementary school teachers. That missionary mindset that really kind of, as I understand it, is the obviously it's the foundation of the Holy Cross missionaries, but it's kind of the foundation of the Institute itself.
You're so right. You're so right. An example of that, we see it right here, because we're sort of in a very special Holy Cross triangle here in Austin. 2 blocks away is St. Ignatius Martyr Church with its elementary school. And then 2 blocks from there is San Juan Diego High School, which is a Holy Cross high school. We gave a retreat to the high school students.
Oh, wow.
And I could always tell the students who had been at St. Ignatius Martyr, because they knew about Holy Cross and they knew about mission.
Okay.
And Amberly can tell you, here we welcome students from that particular high school. And we can always tell they stand out, because when they're taught mission, something happens. The transformation at least begins. And it's evident.
That's wonderful.
It is. I saw it this summer. It is. I saw it this summer during our Holy Cross Conference for Student Leaders. And I could really see the connection from the educator's standpoint and how it relates to our students, and how the students get fed from the resources and the events that we hold here at the Holy Cross Institute. For instance, many of the educators who came and facilitated the conference for student leaders this summer were at convocation. And so they came to convocation, and I know we'll talk a little bit more about that, but they were in the workshops, and they were listening to the keynote, and they were networking with other Holy Cross administrators, staff, faculty, educators, and they were getting fed on things like, how to the Holy Cross history, pedagogy, spirituality, and mission. And then to full circle kind of see that being implemented on our campus, and them implementing all of the things that they learned at the conference with their students, and we just hold space for them. I handled the logistics and getting them here and booking the rooms and doing all of that. But we follow them, and we kind of participate on the periphery. So we have a really good bird's eye view of what it looks like for those educators to not only come and be fed through convocation, but in turn what it produces in the student experience for what they've learned when they were here. And I can tell you that those students came away feeling fed, feeling spiritually fed, feeling fulfilled for the service that they provided in Austin when they were here. They did a service project here with homeless people, and the unhoused have a facility in East Austin with the Other Ones Foundation, and the Other Ones Foundation has 100 units for homeless people where they give resources to homeless people. And our students went and did a service project there. They cleaned up their space so they could build more housing over there. And they learned the history of, what this organization did, and then they helped out, and then they came back and they just talked about the things that they found when they were helping clean up the area of an encampment where they were. And it was things like a badge patch from, a veteran, a homeless veteran. And as you know, there's a large homeless veteran population in America.
Unfortunately, yes.
And her parents are military. And so just going there, picking up that last name and putting it in a trash bag and really contemplating the world and what that means. And they weren't just picking up trash, they were reflecting on what they were picking up methodically like that. And I know that because this young lady came and told that story. And she was just, that is the Holy Cross education in a nutshell. You know, they led them to be methodical about the service that they were doing. And I've never been on a service project where the leaders of the project did that with the volunteers beforehand and set them up for that kind of a spiritual journey. You can go pick up trash and have a day saying, oh, I just cleaned something up and don't mess with Texas, and I did that good thing. Or you can go and you can really get a lesson, a life lesson on the value of your service to society.
That's truly that transformation aspect of the pedagogy that exists here in the Institute itself. That's an incredible story.
You see it so clearly. That was a stunning example. We see it a lot. And it is so often, as Amberly described, the providence of God bringing together pieces of the puzzle of God's own mystery and love for us. So that is a really big part of Holy Cross. Father Moreau focused on God's providence and felt that that was crucial for creating a mission, that you had to have a deep, deep hope, and it had to be based on a conviction that God's plan was already in play and that we were all part of it. So we know it was not a coincidence that she found that particular name badge. And we know all that happened after that was grace. It wasn't just coincidence. And we understand that to be part of God's plan, God's providence. And, you know, Tom, it sometimes it happens in the smallest of ways, the simplest of ways. And you say, oh, that's a little piece of the puzzle. That helps out here or there. Sometimes it's in bigger ways. But it is really remarkable what we see on a regular basis in terms of God's work here at the Holy Cross Institute.
Godcidences, we like to call them.
I like that.
That is not an original. I stole that from somebody else, so you're welcome to it. We're going to actually have to put a pin in this. Can y'all come back next week? And because I have 1,000 more questions, and I really want to dive into more of kind of the aspects of the Institute here that are specific to St. Edward's. Can we come back next week and finish our conversation?
I would love to do that.
Let's do it.
All right, great. Folks, if you missed all or part of today's episode, go to our website, armorofgodradio.com, and you can download the podcast and listen to it, whatever. You can also download our app, and then you can listen to us wherever you are in the world, and wherever you have access to your phone. So thanks again. We'll come back next week, and we'll finish our conversation here on Armor of God Catholic Radio Network. Y'all have a great week. Hey, folks. Welcome back to Armor of God Catholic Radio Network. This is Tom McNew, and we are rejoined with Dr. Bautch and Amberly Russell from the Holy Cross Institute here at St. Edward's University in the wonderful city of Austin, Texas. And appreciate y'all coming back and finishing up our conversation. We started last week and really kind of dove into the construct of Holy Cross Institute here at St. Edward's. And so I want to kind of continue our conversation and talk about the things that you've got coming up here in the very near future. And folks, if you missed part of last week's episode, you can always go back and pick it up on our website, armorofgodradio.com. As I was prepping for this and I was digging through your website, and Amberly mentioned it a little bit last week, this idea of convocation. So let's kind of dig into this. What was the genesis of it, and what is it designed to do?
Well, thank you for those questions. There's so much to Convocation. Where to begin? Convocation, it's a 3-day event. It takes place here at St. Edward's University, and it's sort of a magnet for Holy Cross educators from across the country and around the world. In addition to St. Edward's, there are 25 other high schools, colleges, or universities that are Holy Cross, and literally each one of them sends typically a team of Holy Cross educators to Austin for these 3 days of convocation.
Wow.
Yeah. And so what we do for our part is we spend the better part of a year preparing in terms of lining up dynamic keynote speakers, and we have some of the top voices and top leaders in Holy Cross every year who give not only updates but really inspirational talks, about ministry and teaching. We have workshops in which we take those who have come to learn. They become the teachers because most of them are, in fact, in their own school, college, or university, expert teachers, master teachers, as it were. So there's amazing workshops. We pray together. We have morning prayer. We have Mass together. We have fellowship. We have some great meals together. And there is something I sometimes think of it as the whole greater than the sum of the parts. There's just something about convocation because increasingly we have friends from Bangladesh, from Uganda, from France, where Holy Cross started.
Yeah.
It's a little paradoxical that the cradle of Holy Cross, which is France, is sending a delegation of Holy Cross educators, over 20, to be here for convocation and to be enriched in Holy Cross.
Yeah.
So it is that kind of community, and it is that fellowship that I think that means so much to people. There's a lot of conversation that happens on the side, and people are able to connect in new ways with new people. And from there, they build important plans, and maybe collaborations or new projects. So it's a very dynamic time. And we've already talked about how the providence of God and the work of the Holy Spirit is so central to everything we do, especially at convocation.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure. How many folks are you expecting to attend? Do you have any ideas right now, or?
We have about over 300 usually who come.
Wow.
From all over the world.
Wow.
All over the United States and the world. It's it's a really beautiful experience, especially during our keynotes and plenary sessions where we're in a big auditorium and you have people from France and Brazil, and it's like being at the United Nations.
Okay.
It is really neat. It really is because we have interpreters that come, and so they have their headsets on. They're speaking French into the headsets, and it really feels like you're at the UN. It is so international and just a really beautiful conglomerate of Holy Cross.
Watching all those different cultures mix and mingle and interact with each other has to be kind of an amazing experience just to watch, but then also to participate as well.
It is truly amazing.
Yeah.
It is truly, and for many of these people, it's something they couldn't have comprehended, because that's what travel does, right? And in working across cultures, it kind of opens you up in ways that you couldn't have even comprehended. And I think, the bottom line is, in the end of the day, they say, and we're both Catholic. We're both Holy Cross. Yeah. We share this very, very profound commitment, to, in this case, Catholic education, and we share so much. And we have so much to learn from each other too.
Shows that universality of our faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, one of the workshops last year was sort of about that. The title was Using Student Travel, Exchange Programs, and Field Trips to Help Your Students Cross Borders. And it was a workshop about how travel provides innumerable learning benefits to students, and it helps them to develop a broader global view and increase their empathy towards others.
Interesting.
Yeah, the theme for last year's convocation was crossing borders of every sort. So much of the programming was aligned with our theme, and that theme comes from the constitutions of the Congregation of Holy Cross, where it's written that our mission brings us to cross borders of every sort. So it's
Beautiful.
A great opportunity. These aren't just kind of random ideas that we put together once a year, but we're always kind of, informed by these documents, which are central to Holy Cross.
Yeah. It's in February next year, is that right?
It is. It's the 23rd through the 25th.
Of February 2026. Okay.
Here at St. Edward's University. And the theme is Seasons of Hope, Past, Present, and Future.
Oh, man. How timely is that?
Necessary.
Yeah. So are you responsible for the theme, Dr. Bautch, or?
We have a committee.
Okay.
We have within the Institute, we have multiple committees, but we have a committee that's dedicated to convocation planning and design. And so it was really through a rich spirit-led discussion of that group. And we meet on Zoom because we're all over the country. But it just kind of percolated up. And, when we had it, we knew that was it.
And so can you give us a little teaser on maybe some of the speakers that are coming? Have you got folks locked in yet, or?
We do.
Okay.
It's still a work in progress.
Sure.
But the theme, Seasons of Hope, Past, Present, Future. Past refers to, as I mentioned, we have our own anniversary to celebrate. We're 20 years. And so one of the giants of Holy Cross in terms of our history and really a deep understanding of Holy Cross spirituality is Brother Joel, Brother Joel Giolanza. And so he is actually a past executive director of the Institute.
Oh, wow.
And so he's coming back and he'll be delivering the first keynote. And he'll help us to reflect on, it's not simply a retrospective of the past, the past 20 years or even before that. But, what he's really got an eye on is how did his mind and heart and soul, how did those all work together? And so he'll probably help us understand how, certain things about Father Moreau are there, still alive in the work that we do and informing us. So we look forward to Brother Joel, and we're lining up some other speakers too. It's going to be great. We're going to have some international speakers.
Wonderful.
People who will be coming from, as we mentioned already, around the world. So their voices will be prominent. And it's going to be great.
And we were lucky to get a teaser just yesterday from Brother Joel about, what he's going to speak on this year because we host something called Subversive Spirituality here on campus, where educators can come and literally be fed because we always cater it. It's sort of a luncheon reflection instead of a lunch and learn. It's a time for them to come and be fed spiritually. We had the honor of having Brother Joel here to facilitate it actually yesterday.
Wow.
And so, they come away reflecting on their role and how they can influence their students on campus in a holistic way.
Subversive spirituality. I love the name of that. That's interesting. We could probably do a whole show about just that, but that's good. And I'll tell you what, sister, you're on your way home. I'm just going to say that out loud. You are on your way home to the church, and we're going to keep praying for you because I know that day is coming. That day is coming where I'm going to get a phone call from you, and you're going to say, hey, I'm entering OCIA. And,
Well, it's funny that you say that because one of my references for this job is Catholic, and from a previous place where I worked, and just a beautiful soul. She's the director of health services on another campus where I came from, and I always joke with her that Catholic conversion camp is going great because she was my reference for here. And actually, Dr. Bautch, I haven't told you this, but I did look up the process for converting recently.
I'm telling you.
I didn't tell you that.
Yeah, keep scratching that itch, and you'll be coming home. Be coming home. So the other thing I noticed on your website is about this pilgrimage that you've got coming up. There's a lot of folks that are listeners, that maybe don't know that much about Brother Moreau or St. Andre Bessette. So I guess maybe the other question or better question is, why go to Montreal, Canada? Why would a bunch of folks from Central Texas want to go to Montreal, Canada?
Fair enough. Good question. And the short answer is Brother Andre, Saint Brother Andre. Yeah, Holy Cross has been going strong for 200 years. In addition to Father Moreau, there have been so many remarkable women and men, holy women and men. and several of them are in the process. Either they're servant of God, or they're blessed, like Father Moreau, or venerable. They're in that process towards sainthood, but only Brother Andre Bessette has been canonized. He was canonized in 2010. And so his story is really, truly remarkable. He was a simple person who, because of tragedy in his childhood, both his parents died when he was quite young, he really had to struggle into adulthood. And he didn't get much schooling. He was not well schooled in the academic sense. His mother, before she died, helped him to create a profound connection to St. Joseph, a strong connection to St. Joseph. And St. Joseph and Brother Andre, their communication and their communion is simply remarkable. Okay, it's a story of a lifetime. Okay. Interestingly, here we get back to God's providence and these coincidences that aren't coincidences. Who is the patron saint of Canada? St. Joseph. Okay. When you get to Holy Cross, okay, where we focus, okay, and we learn in terms of the history of Holy Cross, and in the beginning, it started with the brothers, okay? It started with the brothers, and they were originally the brothers of St. Joseph, and they were consecrated to Joseph, to St. Joseph. In time, it was just a matter of a decade or two, there was a kind of amalgamation, and that, from that Holy Cross emerged with the brothers and the priests and the sisters. But in the very beginning, the first foundation was there with the brothers and St. Joseph. So, lest I digress, I want to bring the focus back on Brother Andre and say, so here is this fella who, those who knew, saw a saint even when he was in his early 20s and struggling to find work. But because of his prayer, his sanctity, he was recommended to Holy Cross. He was accepted. When they really looked closely at him, they said, you really can't do a whole lot for us. But you can be by the door, open it, and welcome people when they come to the school that we have in Montreal. And he said, if that's my job, I'll take it. I will not only take it, I will embrace it. And he was just a remarkable presence for those who were coming. And that's why, for Holy Cross, hospitality is such a huge thing. That's why we always lead with hospitality. Brother Andre, though, when he had all this contact with people, and it was holy contact because he was a saintly soul, okay? Some of them were not well. Some of them had disabilities. Some of them had incurable illnesses. And through his work, the intercessions of St. Joseph, our Lord Jesus Christ, God the Father, people got better. People were cured. And word spread. Yeah. And that really became the story of his life. If you go today to the church that he really helped to build at St. Joseph's Oratory, that's the largest church to St. Joseph anywhere, one thing that you see is just thousands and thousands of crutches, from people who were healed by Brother Andre over his lifetime. And he lived to be quite old. He always maintained his sanctity, his simplicity, his good spirit, and his good cheer. And when he passed, at his funeral, the funeral, more than 1 million people came. It was truly incredible. Yeah, when he passed in the 1930s in Montreal, he was arguably probably the single best known person in Montreal, Canada. In all of Canada. Wow. Yeah, it was an international thing. So. And so then we know as Catholics how the process goes, and it's a period of research, and his cause is postulated, and so he was made a saint in 2010. That is the magnet. That is the
draw to
Canada. And as I said, he throughout his lifetime, this was over decades, he was committed to building a church for St. Joseph. And it began with him from the high school, where he worked at the door, looking across the street in the woods and going and putting a statue of St. Joseph up in the tree so that people could go there and pray quietly and in a place of nature. It was that simple at the beginnings. And if you were to see it today, well, I think you've seen it on the on our flyers. it is a whole complex, and the basilica is magnificent. But the story is amazing because it was really over decades of his own lifetime, and then subsequently that it's sort of like the building of a cathedral. It just emerged, through the efforts of so many over a long time.
So obviously, the oratory is one of the places that you'll stop on this pilgrimage. Can you kind of give us like a timeline, how many days it is, and some of the particular locations that you're going to go?
Yeah, so we'll spend our first day and then our third day. We have 3 total days in Montreal. So the first day and the third day will be at the oratory. The first day will be a tour, getting to come into contact with the spiritual legacy that's there, and we'll celebrate Mass together at the crypt or tomb, and it will be really special. And then the third day we'll be back there too, and just do a little bit more around the grounds, like the Stations of the Cross, for example, just beautiful. They're artists, have created these, and it's a garden. It's a whole garden that you can spend more than an hour walking through and praying. So we'll do that sort of thing. And then Montreal is remarkable because beyond St. Joseph's Oratory, there are several really beautiful and large Catholic churches in Montreal that you can walk to. So we'll spend the second day just walking from church to church, and we'll have Mass
St. Philip Neri style, right?
That's right. Exactly, yeah. And also St. Kateri Tekakwitha, her burial is outside Montreal.
Okay.
So we'll visit there on the second day too.
Wow.
So it will be a wonderfully Catholic experience for these Holy Cross educators. And we have friends coming from California, from Indiana, from here in Texas. So when the group gathers in Montreal, it will be a really rich and diverse group.
And is it oriented then on the Holy Cross educators, or is it open to just anybody?
It is open. Yeah,
okay.
It is open. Yeah, and we really started. This is the first one. There will be more.
That's great.
We believe in God's providence. There will be more. But it was really in response to, because I travel to all our schools. I talk to folks and I say, "What more do you need? What else can we do for you?" And what I was hearing was, we would love to make pilgrimages to Montreal and also to France, to the Holy Cross sites in France. I said, it's really hard if you're at a single high school to pull all that together.
Sure.
But, could you sort of do it collectively? And I said, well, let me work on that. And here we are.
Wow.
Okay. So that's the idea, is that we invite especially all those Holy Cross schools, the 25 in the U.S., who we are committed to serving. This is another way that we are serving them.
Yeah. Yeah. And what are the dates for this pilgrimage? Have you got that nailed down yet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This one is October. We travel on the 22nd.
Okay.
And it's through the 26th.
Wow. Wow.
So it's a Wednesday through a Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, it's manageable.
Yeah, that's great. And if folks want to find out more about the pilgrimage, where can they go?
To our website. I think that would probably be an easy, simple place for them to go. So you can register at versoministries.com. That's VERSO ministries.com/holy-cross-institute-Canada.
And for everybody who did not get a chance to write all that down, don't worry. That's okay. We're going to make sure and get it linked in the show notes, and we'll see about cross-posting that as well on our social media outlets, so that those of y'all that want to make this trip can do so.
And I'll simply add that as word has been spreading about this, I have been contacted by folks like your listeners who live here in Central Texas, and they have a desire to go to Montreal and to connect with all that's there in terms of our Catholic heritage, and especially Brother Andre. And we would love to offer that to a group that includes your listeners. So this is something that it makes perfect sense, and as I said, we would love to do it.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll have to do is, when you guys get back, we'll bring you back on the air, and we can talk all about your experiences and the pilgrimage. And we've been fortunate enough to make 3 pilgrimages to the Holy Land, and they are always such remarkable spiritual opportunities. I know that the folks that attend this pilgrimage with you guys will get tremendous benefit out of it. The more that I have learned about St. Andres, the more I have just really kind of been enthralled with who he is. This is remarkable about all of our saints, but just the way the Lord worked through his life, and he was happy just doing, like you said, hey, if that's the job you want me to do, I'm going to do it. He had no great, really, ambitions other than to grow closer to the Lord and St. Joseph. It's just an incredible journey and remarkable man.
And a great role model, especially for students. And I tell my students all the time, I have interns, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
You know, I've had jobs where I cleaned toilets and picked up trash and dusted and did all sorts of things, especially in the military too.
Mm-hmm.
And I did all of those with excellence, with care. And, you know, it really is just a great leadership lesson too, beyond the faith, of just be excellent in everything that you do, take care in everything that you do. The hospitality aspect, of course, being a Texan, Southern hospitality is a huge thing here. And growing up in Central Texas in a small town, even bigger thing.
Yep.
And so we just welcome all people into this space, and just like he did, he welcomed all people into that space.
Remarkable.
Yeah. One thing that I learned, last year I went to Montreal and I reread his biography. And one thing that I learned that really struck me was how much he created community in everything that he did, you know. And it was amazing because to build the church that was built, I'm sure it was built on a lot of prayer, right? and a lot of faith. But the truth is, he brought together so many people from Montreal who were drawn to him, but they were also very practical in terms of helping him and helping find ways to get this church built. After he worked all day at the oratory, he would typically go out at night to homes so he could visit people who were sick and couldn't come to him. Wow. And he had friends who would drive him because he didn't drive. So he had, you know, that is the really remarkable thing. And I mean, we tend sometimes to think of saints as these solitary figures who we put up on a pedestal and, you know, but the truth is, in his story, it's a wonderful story about community and about how so many people got engaged to kind of be part of his vision, part of his life's work. You know, it wasn't just him.
Yeah. Amen. We've got a couple minutes here left. Any parting comments that you'd like to make, Dr. Bautch? Well, let's start with how folks can find out more about maybe the university and specifically the Institute here as well.
I think that's a great place to begin here. Yeah, St. Edward's University was literally founded by Holy Cross. It was not long after the congregation began its work in France. And I mean, really, we're talking about just a matter of a few decades, that a Holy Cross priest, Father Edward Sorin, traveled to Texas and stood on this hilltop and saw nothing but ranch land and decided that this would be an auspicious place, a blessed place for Catholic education. And here he would start a Holy Cross school. So we are celebrating our 140th anniversary at St. Edward's University. We can count back to that moment when Father Sorin was here to start it. But what we're really so moved by is the story. It's the story of what we say for our 140th is we're rooted in resilience,
That's
which is so Holy Cross.
Yeah.
And we've had some challenging times here, but we've had so many spectacular times, largely in terms of what our students have experienced here, the transformative education and the way that they have graduated and gone on to make an impact in the world. And as we've said already, you know, make that pathway to heaven clearer and surer. So St. Edward's is a great school. It is a fabulous Catholic school, Holy Cross school.
And once you get into the St. Edward's website, you can look up Holy Cross Institute, and it'll take you right here You can find out more about the Institute here on the campus and all the great and wonderful things that you guys are doing here. We appreciate your time the last couple weeks, and appreciate all the information, and wish you safe travels and good luck with the pilgrimage. And I'm serious. When you guys get back, we'll get you back on the air, and we'll talk more about how that experience was for you, and where it's leading you. What's the next step? Because that's, for me, that's the pilgrimage is kind of a launch point. Pilgrimage has always been a launch point was the launch point for us when we started this Catholic radio journey, and so that's a story for another time. But thank y'all very much, and good luck, and God bless. And folks, remember to put on the armor of God.